Hi, and welcome back to Fate 40 and Beyond. I'm your host, Jen, and today we're doing something a little bit different. It's a mini episode, but it was inspired by a question that was basically given to me by a listener and a friend. So I wanted to touch on this a little bit because I think it's a really important topic and something that a lot of people who are more spiritually minded end up experiencing at some point in their life. But I read this message and I just had to sit with it for a minute because this was, let me just read it because I think that's the easiest way to talk about it. It says, can you do a mini episode on mediumship and how to tell if someone is opening up to being able to speak to spirit? She said, in my mid 30s, and since my ex died, I constantly hear his voice in my head. Also, I'll randomly think of people I haven't thought of in years and will find out they have passed away when I look them up. I've never been intuitive like that, so I don't know what is grief psychosis and what is real. First of all, thank you for trusting me with this because I think it's so super important that we have these conversations, especially for someone who may not have always been on the intuitive side. And I can relate to this a lot, so I think it's just a really good topic in general. So let's see. Today we're going to talk about mediumship, the signs that you might be opening up to it. And I think first, I just want to say up front, this isn't a conversation about like if you are a medium and you need to pursue it as a career, because it's not for everyone. It's just about recognizing what's happening in your own body and your own mind, in your own energetic field, and learning to trust it instead of immediately explaining it away. And I think for years I did that on my own, where I felt intuitively about things and tried to just dismiss it. We'll get into that in a little bit. So I want to first talk about what mediumship actually is. Like, let's establish a foundation so we understand. When most people hear medium, they picture someone doing this like formal reading in a dark room, some dramatic energy. And sure, it can look like that, but that's just a tiny part of it, and probably what you see more on TV and movies than anything else. I do like that there are some TV shows who have brought a different version of that to the public, but it's still very highly misunderstood. Mediumship at its core is simply the ability to perceive and communicate with consciousness that no longer exists in a physical body. Here is what the spiritual and metaphysical community has understood for a very long time. And researchers in science are starting to understand and document a little bit better. It's not a rare special gift. Like it's available to everyone, but it's a human capacity. Some people are born wide open, and some people develop this ability over time. For so many people, it does open up as a response to loss. Grief can crack us open, and there's just not another way to say that. When someone you love passes away, the veil between you and that consciousness gets thinner, not thicker. The whole system, your energy, your emotional, your intuitive, is suddenly oriented towards them. It's just reaching and listening, and a lot of times they reach back. We just don't expect it. In the book, Journey of Souls, one of my favorite books, Dr. Michael Newton is the author of that. He talks about how sometimes it's the slightest thing that we perceive on this end because their energy isn't quite as strong yet, or especially if they've recently passed, like they'll check on us to make sure that we're good. And they just do these little check-ins. Electricity is easy for spirits because it's what they're made of. Spirits are energy. So it's easy for them to influence energy sometimes, electricity. And I think that's something that people tend to dismiss. It's one of those things that we just don't take seriously. But let's talk about some of the most common signs that someone is opening up to mediumship. Or maybe they already have and they just don't have a name for it yet. Clairaudience. hearing a voice that isn't audible. And this is exactly what you described. Hearing a voice is clairaudience. It's called clear hearing, and it's one of the 4 primary clairs in mediumship. It doesn't usually mean that you can literally hear a voice out loud, but sometimes that can happen. More often, it sounds like a thought, but it has this distinct quality that it's not yours. It feels like it came from somewhere outside of you. It feels as though it arrived inside your mind. The tone might be different. The word choice might be different. Or it might say something that you wouldn't say to yourself. And that's the biggest distinction. If you hear it in your mind and you think, this doesn't sound quite like me, it's one of the first things that developing mediums notice. For me, it happened a lot early morning, like that very sleepy time as I'm getting out of bed and starting to get on with my day. And I have found for myself that I have to ask what's mine and what belongs to someone else. And I will literally think to myself, is this mine? Are these my thoughts? And most of the time I get an answer. Like I find out what is mine and what isn't. It starts to dissipate after that so that I can have some peace. Sign number 2, like you mentioned, knowing when someone has passed before being told. And boy, do I have a story for this one. Thinking of someone out of nowhere and then learning that they died. In the metaphysical world, it's often understood that the departing souls will reach out to people they had a connection with, especially at the moment of transition. It's a form of claircognizance, clear knowing, where information arrives without a logical source. You didn't look them up, you didn't see it on social media, you just thought of them, and it's just something you already knew. It happens a lot more than people realize, and I think it doesn't get talked about because it doesn't sound possible. Many, many years ago, my now ex-husband and I knew that his mom was going to be passing soon. We had all said our goodbyes, and we were pretty much expecting it at any moment. We took our kids home that night, and we decided to all just sleep as a family, put on a movie, and sleep in the living room. And there was a point in the middle of the night, 2 a.m., something like that. Both he and I popped straight up out of bed, wide awake, and looked at each other and just knew. And got the call the next morning that it was about that time that she passed. I get chills even now just thinking about it. But there have been other instances, and I think it's something that a lot of people brush off. Oh, well, just happened to cross my mind. But really, like, the spirit is coming to just kind of check in and say goodbye. And I think that's very kind of them, rather than just heading off on vacation without us there. Sign 3, and this one I do have some experience with as well. Vivid and visitation dreams. Dreams where the person who has passed appears and feels different from regular dreams. Mediums and researchers who study after-death communication describe visitation dreams as unusually vivid, very emotionally clear, and memorable, sometimes years later. The person often appears healthy, peaceful, and communicative. They may say something specific, and you tend to wake from these dreams feeling different, calm, accepting, not shaken but settled, like something was genuinely exchanged. This is widely reported across cultures and throughout recorded history. It's considered one of the most common forms of spirit contact for people who aren't consciously developing mediumship. I've had several dreams of one of my cousins who passed. She and I grew up together. We were 31 years old when she passed, and there was a dream within the next year or so after her passing, maybe a little longer than that, where we were out on this grass area in front of a big church, which was kind of crazy because I don't remember really hanging out at churches with her. But it was this big grass area, and she was walking with her family And I ran to her, and there were people walking all around us, like just being busy and minding their own business. And I ran to her and I just said, "Oh my God, you're here." And she grabbed me by the cheeks and she said, "I'm here just for you." And I just remember waking up from that feeling so calm and grateful that she visited me. Like, I knew that was a visitation dream. I've had others over the years. There have been plenty of them. My grandfather, my cousin, but they're real. Don't dismiss those. Sign number 4, this one is still tough sometimes for me. Increased sensitivity to energy and environment. As mediumship opens, many people notice that they become more sensitive overall. They feel drained in crowds. They can pick up on the emotional state of a room when they walk in. They feel temperature shifts and pressure changes without explanation, particularly in spaces where someone has passed or where emotional events have happened, like really significant emotional events. This is a system recalibrating, like our energetic sensitivity becomes heightened. And that just comes with learning how to manage it. A lot of times I will just let energy know that I'm not available at the moment. I simply say I'm closed for business. Or again, I ask, what is mine and what is everyone else's? Sign number 5, synchronicities and signs. Songs that come on at exactly the right moment, finding objects that belong to someone who's passed, numbers, animals, scents that arrive at meaningful times. Another thing that's often dismissed as coincidence, but for someone who's opening up to spirit communication, they just happen with a lot more frequency and precision. It feels less like chance and more like a language. The soul communicates through the physical world, through whatever channels are available. It's learning to notice and receive those communications that is just part of the process. I remember one time I was sitting on my couch in my living room. I was home alone. I had all the windows closed. I wasn't cooking, and I could smell spaghetti. And in that moment, I was still learning about my own skills in this area and had been told, ask questions. And I remember asking, who are you? What do you look like? I tend to be open to everyone, not just my immediate family or people close to me. And I got a very vivid image in my mind of what this person looked like. And it was really special because that was one of the first times that I could call on the skill at will, I guess. So that was a very special learning moment for me. Sign number 6, I think, is something that all mediums, when they're learning to open up, I think it's just inevitable for so many of us. It's a sudden pull towards the metaphysical. People who are opening to mediumship often find themselves suddenly and intensely interested in things they never were before. Death, the afterlife, spiritual practice, energy work. Books seem to find them at the right time. They stumble across podcasts like this one. They start asking questions they never thought to ask. This is not random. This is the soul orienting itself towards the work that it's beginning to do. So there are your signs. They're not all of them, but they're pretty significant ones. What I want to talk about next is the doubt that I think everyone feels when they start this experience. The fear that what we are experiencing might just be grief rather than something real. And that's a completely fair question. Are we going crazy? And there's still times that I wonder that because I don't understand this. I don't have an explanation for this other than the just pure belief and faith. But it's worth saying clearly that if you're concerned about your mental health, please talk to a professional. Grief is an enormous emotion to handle, and I think support on all levels is more important than whether or not this is real. We need to be supported emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually. But I also want to say that doubt on its own does not make something less real. I've seen it over and over when people start to doubt their intuitive or medium type skills and experiences. When they immediately reach out for a rational explanation, it's like the energy starts to close down. And not that the ability goes away, but because they stop listening for it, they stop trusting themselves, and that's a real loss. The way that I like to think about this doubt is a habit of mind, not a measurement of truth. We've been taught by culture, religion, education to distrust things that we can't prove. And that conditioning runs deep. Your intuition has been speaking to you your whole life. We've just been trained not to hear it. Opening to mediumship, in many ways, is just the process of undoing all of that training and remembering how to trust what you already know. Like I said, I still question myself often, and I do this professionally. It's not something that can be explained, and it does take pure faith. It takes just genuine belief that it's real. And when I do that and I stop filtering myself and I give it my all with my heart, I find that the accuracy starts to just blow my mind because I'm wide open again. So maybe just question it. Don't doubt it. To the person who sent this question in, I hope this gave you some language for what you've been experiencing. What you're describing aren't signs that something's wrong with you. They're signs that something is opening up within you. And how you choose to move with that energy is completely up to you. You don't have to become a medium. You don't have to do anything with it at all. But I do hope you'll stop second guessing yourself long enough just to experience it. Sit with it and see what's true. If you're curious and you want to go deeper, this is the exact kind of thing that I work with at Soulful Existence. And you can find me at soulfulexistence.com. I'll put some of the information down in the show notes. Thank you so much for sending this in. I'm really grateful that you gave me a topic of interest and I could share my perspective on it. So now I would love to do more episodes like this. So if you have a question that you would like me to explore on a future mini episode, anything about tarot, mediumship, past life regression, spiritual development, navigating all of this in between, please send it my way. I have all of my social links down below, and you can DM me anywhere on those. I read as much as I can and respond to as much as I can. I read everything and respond to like 99%. It's a spam text that I don't like to respond to. Anyways, the best questions become episodes like this because I have so much fun with this. So thank you so much for being here. And again, you can check out all of my links below if you are interested in booking a private session. Thanks for joining me.